podcasting, Jeremy?
It's amazing. Wow. Like, oh my God.
You miss podcasting? What do you mean? When did you do?
This is my new life, just podcasting.
It's not your new life.
I have to admit, when you tell people you're going to be podcasting, people are like, oh, what are you podcasting for? What are you going to podcast?
Yeah, because everyone loves a good podcast.
Is it? Or is it just kind of like the new buzzword of 2021?
Because everyone's doing it. So it's like exciting when someone else does it.
Oh yeah.
It's like people who it's like people that do like TikTok.
Yeah, it's like, I gotta do my TikTok video.
Yeah, when people say to me like, oh yeah, I'm doing a TikTok video, I was like, oh, that's interesting.
When I used to, of course, YouTube a long time ago, and I have about 1,000 subscribers. But the funny thing,
subscribers.
I'm just saying.
You say that as like, yo,
I would have been a famous YouTuber if I just kept with it.
I have 1,000 subscribers. Yeah, I'm
a famous YouTuber. Said I would have been a famous YouTuber.
Well, what happened?
I stopped doing it. But okay. So I was thinking about it last week. I was like, oh dang. It would be so cool if we did the podcast and then I was saying like, like Saturdays, right? Yesterday was Saturday and we kind of missed the recording Saturday. But I was gonna say, like, I remember the days when I used to do YouTube videos and it would take the whole Saturday to film, shoot, edit. And I never did any pre-planning. It's a little bit different from how we do it here. But I would spend the whole day trying to do YouTube videos and then edit it. And then there would be less editing because I would memorize my whole spiel. Like I would memorize like 8 minutes of content, and it was painful, I think, in that sense, but made editing a lot easier. But now that we understand the machine, where dude, that was 11 years ago. So now that I'm an adult, this makes it a lot.
When you were an adult 11 years ago, you mean?
Yeah, I wasn't really an adult when I was doing my YouTube career.
Yeah, but were you over 21?
Probably. I was 24. I don't care. I got a million view videos. So I think that's
what was it? One video that has 1 million views?
No, two. I got 2 videos.
Oh, sorry, 2 videos.
Hey, I mean, how many people in their lifetime say they have 1 million view YouTube video?
That's true.
Probably
not many people. Not everyone can.
Yeah. So why don't we get this show on the road? We're talking about What If episode 5, and this is What If Zombies. It was a really good episode. I think me and Jeremy had spoken about it, prior to this, and we said that it was one of the more darker ones, and every single episode gets a bit darker. So we're gonna briefly go through kind of the episode itself, talk a little bit about who was there, and then give our thoughts. So this episode had like Bucky Barnes, it had Bruce Banner, Hope Van Dyne, Spider-Man, Okoye, Scott Lang, Kurt, if you guys remember him, he was from Ant-Man and the Wasp, Happy, who of course has been from the franchise since the beginning, Sharon Carter, Black Widow, Black Panther, a Vision, and then of course all the zombified Avengers, which is Captain America, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, which Scarlet Witch was a badass. I mean, she didn't look pretty, but she was a badass during the episode. Iron Man, Falcon, Ebony Maw ended up becoming a zombie as well, Cull Obsidian, and then of course Thanos at the end. So if you haven't seen the episode, I mean, you already missed your spoiler warning because that was probably a huge spoiler. The good thing about the What If episodes is they follow the kind of timeline of the original movies, but with a twist. So I think when this one started specifically, it started at the beginning of Infinity War when Hulk arrives in Doctor Strange's mansion. And then that's where kind of everything starts. But, before we get too much into it, Jeremy, I wanted to get your thoughts on what did you think about the whole episode, and, from end to end, like what were some of the things that caught your eye and things you wanted to cover, as before we begin?
First of all, I don't think I like this episode as much as the other ones.
What?
Yeah, I mean, it is darker for sure.
Mm-hmm. But darker doesn't mean better, right?
Yeah, it definitely doesn't mean better. It just felt kind of out of place.
Really?
Yeah,
What?
I mean, okay, let's like for example the zombie situation.
Yeah.
So you know how in a certain scene it shows like the Avengers one by one being revealed as zombies.
Yeah.
But I felt like some of them didn't really feel like they could have turned zombies in a actual situation.
You mean in terms of like their power, or in terms of them getting caught? And
Just not like being a realistic situation. Like they kind of did that with Vision, right? They said like, oh, because he's not organic, he can't turn into a zombie.
yeah,
blah,
that's
blah, blah,
logically
blah.
makes sense. That makes
That
sense.
logically makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But then, if that's the case, how come Iron Man turned into a zombie?
I mean, he's still human technically.
He's human, but he's encased in a suit of armor, and he can shoot
But did they
laser
bite?
beams. Well, what are they gonna bite? His metal armor?
Yeah,
Like
that's actually true.
it's made out of titanium, or not even titanium. I don't even know what it is. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Well, nanotechnology for him, at the time, right? Because if we're
Yeah.
looking back, well, actually,
Yeah.
who knows what the timeline is when all of these people, well, you know the timeline, because Hope Van Dyne did come back. So it was
yeah. This takes place right after the ending of Ant-Man 2.
Yep.
And then right at the beginning of Infinity War with the arrival
Of
Ebony
Hulk.
Maw. Well, yeah, Hulk landing and then the invasion of Ebony Maw and Cull Obsidian.
Yeah. So I wonder about that, because obviously when Bruce Banner lands, nobody is to be seen, right? It's pretty much abandoned New York City. And then, of course, Ebony Maw and everyone comes through, and then you see kind of one of the Doctor Strange portals kind of come through and then shoots Ebony Maw, which was different, specifically. And then, of course, Bruce Banner is super excited, and he's like, hey, you guys are in trouble. And I know there was a lot of callbacks, to the original movie.
Yeah.
And then, of course, right then at that moment is when everything goes awry and things start getting nuts. You see them fighting because you're like, oh, okay, they're fighting. And then all of a sudden you realize something different, right? That everyone is zombies. And
True.
that I do agree with you in that sense, where if you are superheroes and you have these abilities, you should be able to kind of fend for yourself. Like, I feel like it didn't make sense who survived turning into a zombie and who didn't survive, in this episode.
Yeah.
And maybe because the episode was too short, that they couldn't kind of cram everything in to kind of
Right.
explain a lot of things. But at the end of the day, I feel probably very similar to you, that Wanda shouldn't have been turned into a zombie. I mean, she was with Vision. She was with Vision the time of Infinity War. And not only that, like, dude, she is one of the strongest Avengers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keeping people at bay.
And considering the fact that her powers kind of derived from the Infinity
Mind
Stones.
is what you said, right?
Yeah, the Mind Stone. So it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. Just in general, like who they chose really to zombify.
I kind of remember you talking about this in other shows. I remember when we did the I forget what it's called, that one show where she's like an angel and she has the god dang it, I guess I'm gonna have to edit this out, but I remember that one show, Warrior Nun, and you just didn't like it halfway through because it just logically stopped making sense. And I feel like this is following the same kind of vein of not making sense, because the logic doesn't
Well,
come out.
Warrior of None. I think that's a little bit different, because I think they stopped trying to make sense of everything.
Like, oh, you're a lesbian now. Done.
Well, not even that, but it just felt like the show it felt like the writers or directors or whoever kind of just stopped trying to make it sound makes any sort of sense. Yeah, like they're just like, just go with the flow. We'll cover it up with a lot of action and a lot of plots and twists, and that's kind of what they did. But at least this one, it is, like you said, like it's a 30-minute show.
Yep. Lot to cram in.
I think it really is just like a series to ponder the different realities of, like, what if. Scarlet Witch turned into a zombie, what would happen then? I think that's really just the big part of it. So it was still enjoyable, you know. I mean, it is kind of nitpicking.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, like, what do you think the purpose of the episode was to kind of convey? I mean, we know that with the Doctor Strange episode, you know, last week we talked about it. We knew that, you know, this was kind of showcasing what would happen if Doctor Strange kind of went down the dark side and lost his heart. What do you think the motivations, and why did this episode matter, you know, in the What If series?
So I have a theory. So I think every episode of What If, the ones that we've seen already, and the ones are to come in the coming weeks, they all have like one thing in common, which is the Watcher, right, observing from a distance, not hearing, and then kind of giving a narration of like pondering the question of what if, stuff like that, right? So I don't know if I'm being crazy or if I'm just seeing things, but I feel like. I feel like the Watcher, every time he appears in the shot, right? Yeah. As things going on, I feel like he's becoming more and more visible to the viewer's eye. Right. Because I think from the first one, you know, he's more like just a silhouette almost. But compared to this one, you know, there's a scene where they get the train moving, and it's going across the sunset, and then you can kind of see in the distance the Watcher observing, but you can kind of see that he has a little bit more details to his face,
like almost physically filling in, right?
Yeah, like, you know, you can kind of see shapes of his nose and his eyes and mouth, and also some slight hints of his, you know, skin color. Yeah. So I feel like, you know, it's almost like a countdown for each episode, and it's going to reveal a big reason as to why What If series exists in the first place. You know, it is. I mean, yes, it is. It serves as as like, you know, Easter eggs for people to kind of just pick at. But I feel like it plays a much bigger role in considering like how everything else is playing out in the movie, in the Marvel movies, and also the future Disney Plus series, right? And they're all supposed to like somehow connect in some weird way, or not connect. I don't know, but but I feel like this series is no different from any of the others. It's no different from, you know, WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where at the beginning, if you look at it from an outside perspective, it's very just single-minded or single direction, focusing on the story of, you know, either Wanda and her grief of losing Vision, or, you know, the story of how the Falcon finally accepts the burden of being the next Captain America, right? But then as the story progresses, or at least you get to the very end of it, it kind of like makes a bridge between those shows to something larger that we still don't really know what's going to happen, but you can already tell that there is like a connection there. So I think the What If series is doing that exact same pattern, where it's initially starting off with just a singular focus on, you know, possible what if realities, but then later on it's going to build into some bridge, or it's going to create some sort of bridge that connects it with all the other shows in some meaningful way.
And that's something that we haven't seen quite yet with the What If series, is the connection. The only slight connection I think that everybody in the theoryverse is talking about is more specifically was Doctor Strange, you know, in getting that tentacle monster, and then of course Captain Carter was also fighting the tentacle monster that brought her into the current age, right? Because there was that flashback, and then of course the portal brought her through time, right, into the current universe with Loki taking over. So that's, I think, out of all the episodes, that was the only slight connection that most viewers saw, but there hasn't been like a overarching, aside from the Watcher himself, something that connects all the episodes. And I think what you're bringing up right now, you know, may be true, you know, may not be true. I mean, it would really be up to, you know, where we end up, you know, in the next 3 episodes that are going to be left. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, that, I mean, it's kind of like, I guess it's kind of a loose end, or not a loose end, but it's a loose point you can make. However, it's something I really just can't like shake off, in the back of my mind.
Shake it off, shake it off. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but definitely at the end of the episode, so I thought what was really neat is that they kind of go into this whole like kind of search and rescue situation. Well, there was a lot of moments, and that will probably queue up is Hope Van Dyne, kind of grabbing all the Avengers or the surviving Avengers, and then kind of walking through the field of zombies, and then you see the zombies kind of like eating her, attacking her. Evangeline Lilly, I think that's her name, the one with the voice. Evangeline Lilly did a really good job of kind of conveying that emotion. I mean, obviously it was all animation, but her dialogue and her connection with Spider-Man was pretty unique. I thought, what was different about this episode was you got to see so many great characters kind of interact with each other, which you would normally not see in the movies. Okoye and Spider-Man, like I don't think there was any time that they got together. I mean, of course there was that big battle, but then you never got to see like these people strategize, interact, and kind of get together. So that was really amazing. But then of course Hope Van Dyne is taking all the Avengers into this compound where Vision and of course zombified Scarlet Witch is, and then they talk about the Mind Stone kind of being able to kind of keep everyone away. They didn't really elaborate on the reason why the Mind Stone could do that. They just knew that that was the case. So within the compound, Vision was there, of course, feeding Avengers. What it seemed like to Scarlet Witch to kind of keep her hunger and keep her happy. She does break out, and then of course she kind of starts wreaking havoc. She she fights with the rest of the Avengers, and then of course they go out, and I don't know what happened after that.
Well, they make it to Wakanda, but then
with the shield, that's right. They make it
because Wakanda is the last bastion of civilization on the planet because of the shield. Yeah. But then it ends with Thanos arriving on scene, infected.
Right. And see, so that's why I think, with these What If episodes, the way that they close out with no resolution kind of makes me wonder where they're going to take that from here on out. Because when you think about Endgame, right, there was a Thanos that came through, the portal, one of the, like using one of Hank Pym's particles, right, to come back to the past. And he was that Thanos was actually from the Battle of New York, right, back in an alternate timeline. And then when they kind of came back to this present day, right, because obviously in their timeline Thanos was killed by Thor, who cut his head off, but this time around the snap kind of took out Thanos' forces. So I wonder if this is a third Thanos. Like I'm trying to understand, like, if this is a multiverse universe, and like a different type of multiverse universe that talks about Thanos turning into a zombie, or is this part of like the original timeline, or is this part of that secondary timeline? Which I mean, I would like, that's what I don't understand, is like, okay, yeah, maybe you can explain this, because with the episodes of What If, are all of them kind of in their own standalone timeline?
The way I interpret it is, there is every time there's a new choice made or a different outcome, it branches out into a different parallel reality, right? Oh, yeah. So in this reality, in this What If episode, or actually in every What If episode, those are all each individual timelines, right? Because we can kind of see that already with from the previous one in Doctor Strange, because that ends in the complete annihilation of the entire reality, or the entire universe is just gone, right? It breaks. Yeah. So I mean, if it was all one continuous universe, then you would see the same effects happen in this episode, but you don't, right? So it kind of helps to show that it's a separate universe, or it's a separate timeline, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. And then so I know that you pointed this out to me, but now after this episode, I feel like it's a lot more truer in what you're presenting, and that would be every single what if episode kind of ends in tragedy or ends in some type of disaster. Like you were saying, Thanos is at the end. He has the Infinity Stones. I think he's missing just the Mind Stone, right?
Yeah.
And then of course you see him towering over as a zombie with the Infinity Gauntlet. And a lot of people are probably wondering, where does that lead us? Like, what does that, what does that mean, right? And then of course it cuts to black. But what is your thoughts on all of these different stories being told by the Watcher ending in tragedy or ending in some type of disaster?
So I think this kind of continues off of my own theory that it's supposed to lead to something greater with the Watcher. So I think it has to do with the Watcher's oath, or it's like he doesn't
intervene.
He doesn't want to intervene. He can't intervene. He just watches from afar, right, and records history. But I was beginning to think, like, what if the Watcher is forced to intervene for the sake of all of reality, like all the timelines? Are
you thinking that the what if episodes are testing him as a
maybe
omnipotent being?
Yeah, or it's like to show like what's the line that
willing to cross
in order to save the universes. Like what if he comes across a time where it not just threatens their own universe, but threatens every single universe in existence.
Right. That actually kind of makes sense. It's like funny that you do bring that up. I mean, that would make logical sense on the reason why the Watcher is being seen more. We did see that in Doctor Strange, the episode 4 for What If. And then of course you had mentioned that he also is getting more solid, that he is almost kind of playing more of a physical role in like these stories. And who knows, I mean, he could be the reason why a lot of people are ending up in tragedy, because he's being tested on whether he should or could save the universes.
Yeah, and we know that it is possible in some ways. So I'm not too sure if it ever occurs in the comic books, but I feel like after a certain point, the Watcher, he's going to eventually have to take some sort of action.
Yeah. So and he exists in all planes of existence at all times in the universe. I can answer your question. There was one moment where the Watcher he doesn't intervene, but he does communicate with Strange. They had mentioned it in one of the theory videos when I was watching with New Rockstars, and they did mention that he does come he does communicate with Strange to talk about some of the repercussions, and I feel like that's kind of close to intervening in my opinion. And then so very similarly to episode 4, where he was able to talk to Strange, and then he told him about the consequences, which we had talked about in the last episode, that would be that wouldn't affect too much, right? Like, it's like he does bring up the fact that his universe will cease to exist, but he was already close to the brink of his universe collapsing on itself. So I don't think like you had mentioned, there was intervention at that point, but now as these get darker and these situations become a lot more bleak, and these universes are kind of collapsing on themselves and really just creating so much chaos, I feel like the Watcher may have no choice at this point in time.
Yeah, it could be.
Awesome. Well,
very, very
I was talking to Jeremy, and I think with every single episode we are gonna kind of do these mini games. I know we did Mephisto's Minions with Jason 2 weeks ago, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually do Fast Cash. This should be a play on kind of like Marvel questions. If you do want to participate and you're listening to this podcast or watching us on YouTube, you can actually go to thegeekview.com and then kind of look for some of the surveys that we're putting together. But if anybody has watched like Family Feud, we're gonna do a kind of quick lightning round with our participant Jeremy Lum right here. We're gonna be talking about 5 questions going through the lightning round, and he'll have to hit 100 points at the end of it. These aren't going to be Marvel specific questions because we didn't have enough time to actually get people to take our surveys. But if you do go to thegeekview.com, you can take one of our surveys. We're going to actually think of different incentives for all of you listeners to be able to participate. And, who knows, we may bring on a guest to kind of take these lightning rounds, and, we might have a lightning round championship. But this is something we wanted to kind of do that was really fun. Something that was like people can look forward to at the end of every episode. And we were going to do it very Family Feud style, which Jeremy had mentioned to me that he's never watched Family Feud, or he doesn't watch it. I don't know. It was one of those things. Who doesn't watch Family Feud?
I don't watch Family Feud.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, okay. So just for those who haven't watched Family Feud and are listening right now, the lightning round, what happens is they survey 100 people. They tell a question, and then of course the person has to guess the best answer, and then those answers are assigned certain points. And so we're going to do 5 questions very similarly to Family Feud. Jeremy does not know these answers, and moving forward, depending on whoever the host is, whether it's me or someone else from the Geek View team, they'll be the host. They'll know how much points all of these are going to take, and then we're going to see if whoever wins at the end. As we continue on with this podcast, and as you follow us, on the Geek View, you'll be able to kind of follow along and then also participate as time goes on. So why don't we get right into it? I'm going to just go with the first 5 questions, and we're going to do it Family Feud style. So are you ready, Jeremy?
Sure. I'm a little concerned when you said it's not Marvel specific.
Well, these are going to be just generalized questions that already have kind of the survey answers tied to it. So then we can utilize their data. And then for future data, we're going to use our own data based off of the survey questions. And then we'll put this out every week. You can follow it on thegeekview.com, and then we'll probably close it out sometime on Thursday, and then we record our podcast over the weekend, and then so you'll be able to kind of hear what the questions are, and what all of you as viewers and listeners had decided on what the 100 survey questions are. So let's get right into it. Poor Jeremy, he's the guinea pig for this, but and visually, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, you guys can probably see a lot of the graphics. But so 100 people were surveyed. This question: name a house you never want to be in.
Name a house I never want to be in.
So name a house that you would never want to be stuck in. We're not going to do time just yet. We're just going to go through the 5 questions. But name a house you never want to be stuck in.
House I never want to be stuck in.
5 seconds. Maybe we should do a timer.
I have no idea.
Okay, because lightning round is supposed to be fast cash. Lightning round. Okay.
Glass house.
Okay. So glass house. Name something associated with vampires. Name
Blood.
something associated with vampires.
Blood.
Okay. Name something in a bakery a baker might call his wife.
Name something a baker may call his wife.
Name something in a bakery a baker might call his wife. 5 seconds.
Loaf.
Oh my god. Okay. Name something a person has in their closet that only comes out on a special occasion. Name something in a person's
Snowshoes.
closet. Snowshoes?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And final question here. If you could go to the land of Oz, what would you ask the wizard for?
Infinite amount of wishes.
It's not a genie. Okay. Ding, ding, ding. Okay. So those are the 5 questions. So the first question was, name a house you would never want to be in. You said glass house. Survey says you get 6 points for that.
Okay. How are these points even distributed?
I'll show you after, but these are all canned questions that actually have already been surveyed, so they have associated numbers to it. So I mean, essentially, if one of your answers did not match up on the rubric, I would have just gave you a 0. So you got 6 points there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, kind of cool. Number 2, name something.
That someone put glass.
So 6 people must have put glass house. Name something associated with vampires. You said blood. Survey said 29 points. Bing, 29
That's
points.
it?
29
What
points.
else do people associate vampires with?
Okay, so I should say it. Number 1 answer for name a house you would never want to be in, haunted house, 27 points. Name something associated with vampires. The number 1 answer was Twilight, 33 points.
Twilight?
I don't know. Hey, you know, nothing you can argue with these surveys, right? I mean,
I can already tell who was surveyed. Okay, go on.
Okay, name something in a bakery a baker might call his wife. You said loaf. Survey said 0 points.
Okay, I didn't even understand the question.
Number 1 answer would be honey or buns. I don't know. I guess loaf would be that. Maybe you either get 0 points or 32 points.
I don't know.
They said honey buns. I guess
honey
buns
buns
is like loaf. Yeah, I'll give it to you. Okay, 32 points. Right now you're at 68 points right now, Jeremy. 68 points. You need 100 to win. You need 100 to win.
So I need 32 more.
Yeah. So you have 2 more questions though. So name something in a person's closet that only comes out on a special occasion. You said snowshoes.
Yeah.
Survey said I'm giving 0 points for this for sure. Number 1 answer was suit tux at 35 points. Second was dress. Third was jewelry, and then there was dress shoes, but then since you said snowshoes, I figured I'd give you 0 points.
Oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. The suit, tux, dress, jewelry. I wouldn't know. I don't have a closet.
You know, the last one with 4 points was shotgun. It was shotgun. Okay, so you're still at 68 points, Jeremy, with 1 question left. So if you could go to the land of Oz, what would you ask the wizard for? You said an infinite amount of wishes.
Yeah.
Survey said 0. Number 1 answer was money. I'm surprised you didn't say money. Number 1 answer was 37 points with money. So you end up with 68 points and you lose. And since you're the loser, you don't get anything to do because you're just a loser. We could just say you're a loser right now.
What did I get if I won? What was the prize if I won?
You get bragging rights that you're the lightning round winner. We will post on our Facebook and kind of maybe look for volunteers, and you can join us at the end of the podcast. If you feel like you have something to add to these what if episodes or wish to join us, we did have a cool guest 2 weeks ago. Actually, I think it was 3 weeks ago now. His name was Nerds, and he kind of dropped a lot of knowledge on Clubhouse when he joined us. We're looking to do a lot more Clubhouse discussions, which we may be able to do. We do have a Discord as well, which we'll put up on the website, so you can join the conversation there, add any theories that kind of come through. We read all of our comments and all of our conversations. You can also check out Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings with that review as well from me and Jeremy. And then we also have the What If episode, episode 4, of course, with Doctor Strange, What If He Lost His Heart? So, we have a lot more content coming your way. Cue the Family Feud final ending music where...
Or don't, because that's trademarked.
Yeah, and then you probably wouldn't hear that, but...
DMCA.
But, not bad, Jeremy. I mean, 68 points. I mean, I have to give you some credit. I honestly thought that you would get 0 points. So kudos to you. And then check back with the Geek View every week. Check out our podcast. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, join our Discord, and join the Geek conversation. We're here. We're launching this kicking this off, for the month of September, and we're excited to see where this journey goes. So, next week we're gonna probably have more Marvel specific lightning rounds, and then maybe we'll pull an audience member or fan into the podcast so we can kind of record that as well. If not, then it's going to be always Jeremy, and maybe Jeremy will lose, just exactly like Doctor Strange lost when he was repeating time over and over again.
Am I going to be like forever the only one contestant?
Yeah, forever the only contestant. But I do feel like this was a fun way to kind of end the podcast, and we'll see you guys next week. Blah, 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 blah. Is there anything you want to say, Jeremy? I'll just throw it in the editing.
I need a prize to incentivize me to win.
Are you gonna try harder if you have a prize? You're gonna try a little bit harder.
I'll think a little bit harder.
Why don't we? Do you want to? I kind of want to do. Well, it's already 1:40. No, I think that was good. I'm gonna stop recording actually, and then we can edit this. But